We are back with another George Groves Boxing Club. How are you, Deck?
I'm not too bad, George. I wasn't sure whether we were going to make this one happen, but lo and behold, there's no holding us back these days.
No, there isn't. Shout out to Beterbiev, the sponsors, our partners within this pod. So we get that in off the bat, a little... I mean, it wasn't as sort of suave and slick and slid in as I hoped, but Beterbiev, thank you very much. You're partnering with us. And yeah, I wanted to let the dust settle, Deck. See if there's any news. Obviously, everyone's putting out their thoughts and feelings about the fight weekend. I did mine, and I got a little bit of criticism because I said I wanted a little bit more from both guys, actually, Beterbiev and Beterbiev. And Bivol.
And Bivol. All three of them.
All three of them, yeah.
No, but I saw that, George. You were getting lit up on that, and I did think we want to pick over the bones of that.
Should we do that? I mean, we can do that.
Let's do it.
And we've got to talk about the scorecards, really, because that's been the next sort of, I don't know, a sticking point for people. I think maybe Bivol was the favourite in terms of the fan favourite. People wanted Bivol to win. Or maybe when they watched the fight, they wanted Bivol to win, or they thought Bivol should have won. Maybe not. But, I mean, we've got the scorecards there. They're printing the scorecards.
Yeah. Before we do that, what did you think, George? At the end, what did you think had happened? What did you think was the correct result?
I sat there and scored it a draw.
Nice.
And I scored it round on round. I wasn't really listening to the commentary. I wasn't getting swayed by anyone. But I've lost my bit of paper that had the scores on, but I was writing close. I remember writing close. And then when I look back, when I've written close, that means to me, if that swings the other way, or even a 10-10 round, you can't complain. So there was a lot of close rounds. No one really grabbed the fight by the scruff of the neck, in my opinion. And it must have felt close to their corners. It must have felt close to the fighters. Now, obviously, easier said than done. You're saying just go through the gears, up it. But,
yeah.
There was no urgency from either guy, really. But there wasn't like a guy who thought he was winning and went into cruise control. Like sometimes you're watching at home, you're like, this is really tight. And then all of a sudden, the red corner gets on his bike and he starts lifting his hand up in his showboat. And you're like, mate, don't try and run away and just survive this round. You've got to win this round, son.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of that about me. And... if you're comparing these two guys to, a lot of other fighters out there, sure, there's a lot more skill involved. There's a lot more talent. There's a lot more, ring gentlemanship and all them other great attributes that both these guys have. But if you're judging them by their own standards for their previous fights, I did want to see a bit more. I'm sorry, I did want to see a bit more. I wanted Beterbiev.
Okay.
I wanted the lava to come, Deck. I predicted the lava to come in, and it didn't. What did you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's a good point. I do think what we said in our preview pod, that both men are fighting people or fighting someone who's far better than anyone they've ever boxed against before. So they're going to have to do something we haven't seen them do before. And I think what we saw was a case of two elite light heavyweights, elite operators at any weight, sort of cancelling each other out. But they found those little pockets of success. Like, for instance, Beterbiev, we call him the lava because it just keeps coming. And I did top 5 Beterbiev knockouts for the Boxing News website. So I watched all his knockouts.
What was the best one?
My favourite one is the Adam Deans one, which is like a left hook one. Because what is striking with Beterbiev and all his knockouts? They do a lot of striking. Yep. What is more striking is that there's very few one punch, kablamo, good night.
Really?
They're all... It's pressure, like, the term pressure fighter means, you apply pressure, but it's that constantly, like, look like you've got a split second off, you haven't, bang, bang, bang. It's not, there's very few where he's like laying people out cold. And obviously we know that Bivol's got a good chin and he's very cute, and he's very smart and he boxes well. So like, the lava was coming, but it was just because Bivol was that much better than everyone else Beterbiev's knocked out, it couldn't quite get there. Bivol hung in there. It got a bit ragged at times and he got a bit tired. But what I found striking about Beterbiev is that when there was someone who just refused to kind of crumble completely, his gas tank was not all we might have thought it was. I think it was the 6th round. Maybe it was the 7th. One of the rounds in the middle, he basically just looked like he was run out of ideas, and he was tired, and the lava had slowed down. And then he gets like another wind, and then he goes through he's finished the fight really well. So you can't have a go at his gas tank, but it was like notable when you see a fight where someone like Bivol can drag him in drag Beterbiev into tougher moments, you see how the ebb and flow of his work is not just relentless, walk you down, knock you out. He did have to have little breaks. He got hit a lot. Bivol had a lot of success. Personally, I scored it 7-5 to Bivol. But again, these are rounds where you're talking about maybe 1 or 2 clean shots landed, and it makes you go, well, yeah, I reckon Bivol's got that. And that you cannot argue. We know this in boxing. You cannot argue with someone returning a scorecard 7-5 either way. To be honest, you can't. Who was it? One of the judges. Let me get the scores. Pavel Cardini had it 116-112, and people were like, "Oh, that's far too wide." But how can that be far too wide when Glenn Feldman had it 115-113 to Beterbiev, and then Manuel Oliver Palomo had it level at 114-114?
Yeah,
you can't, because the rounds are so close. You can't. That could have been 11-1.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The maths gets you quick when you're not like.
Yeah.
You know, you've been staying up all night watching the boxing. You're like this. You're ready to. You've seen the Missy Elliott bit, and now you've seen the fight. You thought it was a stoppage. It's not.
Could have done without that.
No, that was the. I don't know. It wasn't the best bit, but that was the best bit of entertainment yet. Outside the ring. It was like the booker.
It was like the booker had been sort of cryogenically frozen for the last 15, 16 years, and it's like. They've woken up and be like, right, book Sierra, book Missy Elliott, book Busta Rhymes. It's like, who the fuck thought these guys were the ones we needed at this show? It's like, I quite enjoyed it.
Let's get it straight.
Certainly my era.
The Booker is mid-30, isn't he? Like, he's living his mid-30s, and he's like, Missy Elliott.
You got Liam Gallagher. You got Liam Gallagher at Wembley. He's like, who else can we get for this one? But I mean, what it did do,
So if you go through that card, if you go through the cards deck, and you go through the judges' scores, right?
Yeah.
There's only 2 rounds where they did not all come to the same conclusion. And to be honest, on my card, I know I'm not the same because the fourth I give to Beterbiev, but a lot of people give that to Bivol. So it's like maybe I wouldn't make the pass. They'd be screaming at me.
Cardini was the only one of the judges that gave the 4th to Beterbiev, and the other 2 gave it to Bivol.
So you've got round 4 and round 7 where they couldn't unanimously agree.
Yeah.
And that was all.
So there was 10 rounds where they agreed, they were in agreement. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And what is notable is that 4 of those were for Bivol and 6 to Beterbiev. So, and obviously none of them scored Bivol a winner, not anyway overall. So what is striking to me is that however way you slice this, Beterbiev was a winner in the eyes of the judges. Like, yes, it was close, but you cannot like, I thought Bivol won scoring it. We know how you score a fight. You do 10-9 round, and unless there's a point deduction or knockdowns or whatever, but you say he's the winner, 10-9. And there was not a round that was anywhere near dominant enough to even think about a 10-8. So you're talking about these tiny margins. That's why a 6-6-6 draw is like totally viable. But the reality is it was 10 common rounds, and that was 6-4 to Beterbiev. And they disagreed on 2 of them. And obviously Cardini, the one who ended up with 116-112, gave both of those uncommon rounds to Beterbiev.
Well, if you're fascinated by scorecards, I would suggest you go back through our archives on the George Grove Boxing Club. Check out our episode with Ian John Lewis, obviously, who was a professional referee for the British Boxing Board of Control. He gave in a scorecard, A star, and he got demoted after one scorecard. But he explains to us, Dec, that like they write down their score at the end of the round, then someone comes and picks it and takes it off them, which we're not doing that at home. I'm not there scribbling down mine, and my mum taps me on the shoulder and go on, I'll have that, because after I've done 5-6 rounds, I'm like, ooh, I'll give every round to Bivol. Or I'll give every round to Beterbiev. This is a 50-50 fight. How comes he's 6-0 down? But it's just because every round, and it's gone from the brain. You've got to sit there and concentrate.
It's 12 individual fights is what Ian John Lewis described it as, and that's a really good way of looking at it. The reality, I think, on this fight, George, is that 1 and 2, clearly Bivol made a good start, and Beterbiev, as we know he always does, start slowly. He got pinged by Anthony Yard early on in their fight, and obviously took over and won the fight late on by stoppage. So Bivol wins 1 and 2 on all the judges' scorecards, and probably everyone watching. Not much in it, but he was the winner. And it's like, oh, cool, he's made a good start. If he can keep this up, he's going to win the fight. Then Beterbiev comes back in the 3rd, according to all the judges. The 4th, as we said, is was not agreed on, and it was kind of could be either way. 5 and 6 all went to Beterbiev in the eyes of the judges. 7 was a dodgy one. 8 and 9, Bivol rally. All judges gave it to Bivol. And then I think what is very important to make clear is that 10, 11, 12, the championship rounds, all 3 judges gave all 3 of them to Beterbiev. Could you argue with that, George? Do you think that Beterbiev won all 3 rounds?
I haven't got my card, but I know he definitely won the last 2. And at that point, I looked at counted up, and I was like, right, he's 2 down. He needs the last 2 for a draw, and I did give him the last 2. But again, he wasn't fighting like he needed them last 2 decks, like he needed a knockdown. I mean, what did you think? Like, did you feel like it was brilliant and both guys were exceptional, or?
I found it I found it very absorbing. I found it high level stuff. I was like, you couldn't take your eyes off it. I was excited. I found it exciting because it was like perilous. It was so perilous because Bivol obviously is like in my eyes, certainly early on, winning rounds and like doing really well and showing a good chin and getting hit. But you know when it's like at any moment, you've seen how many times Beterbiev has landed like that kind of wide right hand, even just on the top of the head, skim someone's head, and the whole fight changes. And it's like, it's that edge of your seat stuff where you think this could change at any moment. I thought it was a really entertaining fight. I thought it was one of the best no knockdown fights I've ever seen over 12. I know what you mean about.
So I'm being harsh tonight.
I think it's fair enough. The only thing, but I think it's fair enough to say I expected more. But what I do think is I'm not exactly sure what either man could have done better. Like Bivol, there were times when he had to just dig deep and just try and get through it because he's in trouble. But then he'd come back with like a little combination, like like a little flurry. And Beterbiev was like, looked like he didn't know what he was doing at that point. And then there were times when Beterbiev looked knackered, and then he just pulls a shot out the bag. Like they cancelled each other out to such an extent where I think it's unfair to be like, I wanted more. Do you know what I mean? With a high level fight like that, I don't know. It's a bit like Mayweather-Pacquiao. I know there was a slight difference with that because Mayweather won quite clearly and Pacquiao was injured, so to speak. But in a fight where the 2 guys are so evenly matched, it's and both of them have good chins, it's kind of hard for either of them to shine in such a way where you think, right, he's won that by a mile. Do you know what I mean? Like Spence was just not at the races. Crawford absolutely obliterated him because he was just that much better. But these guys, if it had gone either way or if it had been a draw, you couldn't argue with any result. So, like, I know what you're saying. We got a big build-up, but for me, I fucking loved it. Like, I've watched it back and I thought it was, absorbing.
Do you think they'll fight again?
I would hope so because, I mean, Turkey said straight away after he scored it to Bivol and he thinks it's an unfair result. I don't really know what they do other than fight each other again.
Are you in a rush to see it again?
Not, to be honest, not massively.
It's the best fight you've ever seen without a knockdown, and you're not in a rush to see it again.
No, but I'm just like it more that it's one of those fights that's exciting. I enjoyed it. You're taking a leaf out
of these 2 guys, and you're playing safety first deck. I'm not having it.
No, I just think
just tell you how it is.
I don't really like rematches for a start.
Yeah, sure, no one does, but
and also like it's one of those ones where it's absorbing because you're like, can he make it to the end? Oh shit, Beterbiev's come back. Like he's had a bad start. What's going to happen? What we now know is that Bivol can withstand it. Beterbiev is not the like wrecking ball that he is at the lower level when he boxes Dimitri Bivol. I think if they boxed again, exactly the same thing would happen. It'd be another 12 rounds like that. It'd be nip and tuck. There'd be no clear winner. Someone will get the result. And the other one.
Is this fight the equivalent of the Joker 2? Right, where the people who love it.
Hold on, is that the? That's the Lady Gaga one.
Lady Gaga, Whacking Phoenix.
Yeah. I haven't seen it.
We hoped for a little bit more, but it was loads of singing, right?
Yeah.
But the people who love it just love the artistic, element to it, and they're also probably like superhero diehards. They love the Marvel and the DC series, etc., etc. So they know they're going to love this film regardless. They watch it and it's great. And if you do what I do and you show up and you don't know what to expect, and then. I mean, I was watching the fight and I didn't want to walk out halfway through. It was definitely better than that. But, was Bivol Beterbiev Joker 2?
I've heard the Joker 2 shite, and I like that. I like the fight. So not exactly. Who's Joaquin Phoenix and who's Lady Gaga then out of Bivol and Beterbiev?
Right, so I'll describe the characters and then we can conclude together, right? So
Okay.
They're both a bit wacky, both a bit messed up.
Yep.
Gaga will turn to singing Harley Quinn much more easier than the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. So who would burst into song off the bat? It's Beterbiev, really, isn't it?
I think it's Beterbiev. Yeah, he's kind of impish and funny and cheeky, isn't he? Believe it or not, like that's what I found from that whole promotion.
He's quite secluded and reserved.
Yeah.
So he doesn't give a lot away.
No, Bivol. So Bivol is the Joker then? Is Joaquin?
Yeah, and
I mean, I haven't fucking seen it, and I'm not planning on seeing it either. So
you should go see it. It's so good. I'll tell you what we did see. Number 2 was Fabio Wardley taking on Fraser Clarke in a rematch. The first one ended in a draw. I was asked to pick a winner deck. I asked you to pick a winner. I went for Fraser Clarke. I was like, man, this guy, he's got the amateur experience. I think he's the one who might be able to change and adapt and improve, and should be able to be very experienced now for where he's at, but amateur pedigree, obviously no experience. But I came up a little bit short in that.
And I picked Wardley. I must say, I picked Bivol, obviously, because I thought it was going to be a distance fight, and it was. And Bivol could have got the nod. So I'm going to claim that I got that right. That was 100% correct. So that's 1-0 to me.
No.
And then it was 2-0 when Fabio Wardley did that. I mean, fuck me. I mean, we know Fabio Wardley can punch. But after the first fight, when they've shared these 12 rounds of like unbelievable action where they've both shown unbelievable chins and landed, and Clarke's gone down and got back up and all that sort of stuff, nobody was predicting one round job either way, because based on what we saw in the first fight, it's not often you see it. I was thinking like Donaire. Remember Donaire took Inoue the distance, then got knocked out pretty early. Like it does happen sometimes, especially when it's the older fighter who gets knocked out because he's aged more from the first fight. But I don't think we saw necessarily any evidence of that, because there wasn't enough time for it. What we saw was the most violent dispatching of anyone I've seen for a long, long time. The stoppage was fucking horrific. His face is caved in.
Can I point out one thing, Dec? I haven't seen anyone else point it out yet. Did you notice that Fabio Wardley was wearing camouflage gloves?
Yes.
And I want to know, did he not see him? Yeah.
Fraser Clarke couldn't see it. It didn't look like he could see him. That's a bit of a rebrand. He was talking about war and he's got camo and stuff on. Maybe I think the board should investigate that. I think actually maybe it's a no contest.
No, I mean, don't want to go that far yet, but obviously maybe Fabio Wardley has stumbled across something that's,
if they were fighting in like the Amazon or something where the camouflage might be sort of pertinent, then yes, but they're in the middle of fucking Saudi, like. I reckon.
Is that how camouflage works? I don't know, Dec.
Nobody's asked Fraser Clarke if he could see the gloves. I mean, by the looks of it, he didn't see most of them.
No.
And they were slashing round at some force. I mean, yeah, the finish was horrible. Like that image of Fraser Clarke, like where his jaw. We hear his cheekbones have been broken. Looks like his jaw's fractured. His jaw's like. He's like, what the fuck? He's just kind of trying to. A human being looks like he's trying to survive there. It was, that was violent, man. Like, and that is, I think he had surgery after. They were saying that sort of an injury, because you could see the indent in his cheekbone, I assume.
Yep.
They have to get inside it and basically push it back out again. It is just harrowing stuff.
I mean, I wonder I'm assuming that's just patch you up surgery to get you back to London for real surgery. Equivalent would be when my shoulder goes out, they don't do surgery, they put me under to pop it back in, but then a week later I'll go and have the surgery to keep it in. But I've never seen an injury like that, Dec. And is it career threatening? Like, you hope not for Fraser's sake, but wow, it was disturbing to see on TV. God knows what it was like ringside.
I mean, the sound of the punches was unbelievable, and I did say the loser here, because they both have ambitions of world titles. Like, the loser here is up against it in terms of getting back into world title contention. Obviously, Wardley's got more time on his side at 29. But Fraser Clarke now is 8-1-1. He's 33 years old. He won't be able to box for ages because his jaw's just been caved in. You've got to think, I mean, career threatening, I don't know because I don't know the extent of the injury. I would assume yes, because the fucking state of the face. But if say he gets back to full fitness, and I'm sure he don't want to go out like that, it's like he's 33 and then what does he do now? You know, there's people out there. There's loads of heavyweights in Britain, so to speak. But this is a guy, an Olympian, who wanted to turn over and become a world champion, and now he's a long way off that. You got to admit that. But for Fabio Wardley, like at 29 years old, he's just put to bed in the most emphatic way this one fight. The first fight since his professional debut that didn't end inside the distance was that first fight, and then he's gone, oh fuck this! I only need one round to go and get it going again. They're talking about, I mean, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, where are we at now? Next step, I mean, is it Bacoli? Is it Parker? Is it Caballel? Or are they a step too far for him right now? He still needs a bridging fight.
But you look around and you're like, who are the bridging fights if they're not those guys that you just mentioned? Because obviously we know that Fury and Usyk are not going to be around for much longer. There's talk that if Usyk wins on December 21st, he's going to go down to cruiserweight. So, like, even if he carries on, he might be back at cruiserweight. But so there is going to be opportunities for these guys to move on. But right now, they're the champion. Or no, Usyk is the champion, Daniel Dubois is the champion, and Fury's Fury, and Joshua's Joshua. But then you look at the tier below them, and you've just named them. You've named Joseph Parker, Ajit Caballel, Martin Bacoli, people like this. Obviously, Fabio, when I interviewed him last week, he was like, I want to fight Daniel Dubois. I think I'm ready. Like, he's not going to get a voluntary shot, so I assume it's going to be he'll need a fight, a ranking fight to get some sort of eliminator somewhere.
Is that?
And the only way to that is one of those names you said. It has to be.
Yeah, to get there. But I mean, Bacoli's in great form, Parker's in great form, Caballel's looking brilliant.
I think at 29 he doesn't need that. I don't think he needs that right now. Obviously they want to move him quickly, but it's like, why? When the division is just about to be blown wide open by the departures of Usyk and Fury, probably, and Joshua, a 29-year-old Fabio Wardley does not need to be in a rush. Like, he could sit on it for a couple of, people like Otto Wallin and, those guys. Why not go? Considering he had no amateur experience, he's still learning on the job. He admits that. And if he turns up and chins Otto Wallin in a round, it's like, sweet. Like, that's great news.
You get him someone with a couple of losses, but still live, still a name. That's sort of not even gatekeeper to the world division. I've got Wallin written down. White,
Joyce. They said Joyce on the. They said White on the.
I know he's managed by him, but
it's his manager, isn't it?
Are they
you
still
can't fight your fucking manager.
I think they still are, but
I mean, it's certainly the same people around him.
I'm not exactly
sure.
Actually. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like he has a lot of time for
that. But that is the perfect sort of opponent, isn't it? And that's why Joyce. I hear that Joe Joyce is boxing Tony Yoka next. Like, it should be announced pretty soon. So they're tied up, but they're two guys where. Do you know what I mean? It's the next one up, isn't it? It used to be like Carlos Takam. I don't know what Takam's doing nowadays. It's like that fight. I'm sure they could get Carlos Takam from somewhere. I think he's still boxing. I think he beat Yoka the other year. So I don't know. But I would look at Fabio Wardley as a 29-year-old with no amateur experience, therefore very few miles on the clock in that sense. I know he's been plying his trade, his hard spars and everything else. But he's knocked everyone out apart from his debut fight and that first fight with Fraser Clarke. Why would you rush him at this point in a division that is just about to change completely? They said, was it Andy Lee, I think, said on the broadcast, Moses Talma against Fabio Wardley. Problem is they're both trained by Ben Davison, and they're both probably looking at this division going, I'm going to crack this thing. Like, as soon as I get there, I'm going to stay there. So, like, they'll probably fight one day down the line. But
I think both those guys are being a rush for Daniel Dubois. That,
100%.
So, no. People look at Daniel Dubois and go, world champion, hard fight, but I might win this, because he's had a couple of losses.
Yeah.
But I think, I can't imagine. You'd think Moses Atalma would get the jump on Fabio for that fight, if that fight can be
Yeah.
made, just because they want to rush him, to become champion at the age and try and get close, if not break the record of Mike Tyson's youngest world title. But do you think fighters are looking at Fabio Wardley and saying, no, thank you, don't want that? Or do you think they're looking at him like, oh, he's hot right now. If I beat him, I blow up,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bit of both. He obviously he's on the Saudi gravy train. He beat David Adelaide there, knocked him out. He's obviously not Fraser Clarke out like that. We know that they love knockouts. So he has that. He has the door into that. And if you look at the top 10s, you've got people who are on the outside looking in. People like, obviously, Zhilei Zhang is very Riyadh season. He's a real Riyadh season name. But then you've got like F.A. Ajagba still there. Obviously, you're talking like people like Jalalov. They wouldn't want anything to do with Jalalov. That makes no sense. But like he's in the top 10 with the WBC. Frank Sanchez, who's had a nightmare out there, got beat by Ajit Kabayel. Makhmedov, who Kabayel beat. These sorts of names, like they'll be looking at Fabio Wardley and going, "I'll have a bit of that." Like Makhmedov will look at him. His career's like. He just lost to Guido Vianello and lost to Ajit Kabayel. He's gonna look at him and be like, I could beat Fabio. I could beat the white collar guy, no problem. Get me back to Riyadh and I'll show you what I can really do. So I think there is the bit of that, 100%. But then there'll be other guys going, what? I mean, he's a live wire, boxer tricks, punches like fuck. Is in good form. It's like maybe we'll go for like one of the other names that's hanging around.
He's quite a natural finisher, isn't he? Like when he puts them punches together. The build of him is like old George Foreman-esque. Like he the neck's big, everything's big and broad and solid, and he looks like it's not going to go anywhere. Like I'm surprised he's not 2 stone heavier than everyone else on the scales because he just looks a bigger man. He's so much lighter.
He was 30 pound lighter.
I couldn't believe that. Like,
and he's scythed through him like that, and he's 30 pound lighter. That is something. Like that is. He's probably got. I don't know. If you don't know the Fabio Wardley story as well, we had him on the pod. We give us the ins and outs. Amazing story for him, and for him to be doing what he's doing now is insane, really. But like another few names for this sort of topic. Filip Hrgovic, he's around. Justice Hooney. Like if you're making these fights, what do you think happens? Like, do we have to start believing in Fabio Wardley more? What do you think?
I think at 29. Now, and he's had that acid test of, what was billed as a 50-50. He's passed that sort of heavy favourite, and I think give him his chance. Let him crack on. Let him move. And you went through those list of heavyweights, and I couldn't believe how many of them have already boxed out in Saudi. Do you know what I mean? It's almost been like they've gone through auditions and you sink or swim. And if you perform, you knock guys out and you're entertaining, then you're welcome back. And to him, he had the Adelaide fight. That was in Saudi. That was on the Ngannou.
Knocked him out.
He knocked him out.
That was on that one where the undercard was outside and then the main event was indoors.
Yeah, did you go
on
to that
outdoor
one?
bit. Yeah.
Was you outside then inside?
Yes, it was a bit of chaos actually because obviously, like people had tickets for outside and inside. It was all. They did it because they wanted to do an opening ceremony for Riyadh season. I remember the ring came out the floor and all that stuff. And then Joe Parker knocked out, who was it? Dempsey McKean? No, Simon Keane. Sorry, Simon, not Dempsey McKean. He's boxing Moses Talma. But, so it's heavyweights galore out there, particularly at the start. Remember, it was just heavyweights all over the shop. So, loads of them have boxed already. And if there's one thing that's going to guarantee you keep getting invited back to Saudi is if you're a heavyweight who knocks people out.
Yeah. Unless,
I would assume...
Is Ngannou coming back?
I mean, fucking, what about Fabio Wardley against Francis Ngannou?
I'd pay for that one.
I mean, I'd watch it.
But I'd watch it. No, actually, I'll take that back. I wouldn't pay for it. But
it'd be $19.99.
Yeah, no.
You'd probably get a job. He's the hot ticket. Here's a question for you, George. Who wins Fabio Wardley against Derek Chisora in December?
Yeah, Fabio Wardley.
Ooh.
I think Derek. He's vastly experienced, and he brings the heat for those first few rounds. But like when he could bring the heat for 8 rounds, a few years ago, then it's now 6 rounds. I think it's 4 rounds. I think we might be seeing him against Jarrell Miller. I think. Are they talking about that?
That makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense, and that the build up should be epic, and that could be a real good fight. But I think Yeah, Fabio against Derek Chisora, I put him down on the list as sort of like, if it's not the the top 3 or 4 guys who are chasing the belts, then is it Joyce? Is it Chisora? But
or what about, we know as well that Turkey does give people second chances. He's doing it with Israel Madrimov. What about if he says to Jared Anderson, ego, come back in from the cold. Obviously, he got beat by Bacoli on his Riyadh season debut. Jared Anderson, you go and beat Fabio Wardley.
Yeah, that's not the one for Jared Anderson, is it? Like, that's not.
No,
he don't want none of that. No, seriously, he don't want none of that. He don't want none of that.
But in terms of like imagine profile building and stuff in America, or whatever. Imagine he goes and knocks out Jared Anderson. I know he's kind of damaged goods, so to speak, after what happened against Bacoli.
I don't think it would land well enough for him as a comeback fight because. If anyone who goes and does a job on Wardley, straight away you're gonna hear, oh, he's just a white collar fighter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's only got one good win. That's against Frazier, and he drew him the first time. So he's hot right now. But I think he, to be really hot and to be a top scalp, he'll probably need to beat another decent name.
What I will say is that we've spoken about it before. We are lacking stars, potential superstars in this country.
Don't say it, Derek.
I'm sorry, but
Don't
a 29-year-old knockout artist who can speak, who's got a personality like Fabio Wardley, is just what we need. Like, he has everything to go on and become that. Like, and we're short of him. We're short of him in this post Joshua Fury era. It's like, who's going to be the stars? Fabio Wardley. He's got the making of it. And if he keeps doing that, I mean, fuck me. Like, if there's one thing that spreads like nothing else, is a highlight reel knockout, and that was mental.
I thought you were going to say some horrific sexual disease then or something.
Nah,
and I also thought when you talk about superstars, I thought this was your way of segueing to Mr. Chris Eubank Jr., who was
I was going to go the other way. But yeah, let's do that one first.
We go. Oh right, yeah, okay, yeah. No, we go to. No,
let's do
Benn.
Let's do Eubank.
Yeah.
No, do Eubank first.
Yeah.
Because one of the most interesting sidelines, vignettes of the whole promotion was just Conor Benn being there, and obviously they're trying to build a fight. Turkey's now named that fight as one he wants. But George, like, Conor Benn is banned, isn't he? Like, it's what I'm.
No, well, do you know, like, I watched the Sky broadcast. Obviously, available everywhere you get your boxing, watch them all. But we watched the Sky one. And I think because they're sort of Eubank promoters now and Team Eubank, they were like saying stuff that I hadn't heard quite yet of like Conor Benn's ban is nearly up and stuff like that. And I was thinking, I didn't know he was banned.
But I'm not sure he's actually banned.
Well,
yeah,
that's what I mean. So I was wondering...
He's not licensed by the board. We know that. That's old news.
You can't talk... No one can talk about it, but you will just serve a sort of suspension.
Well, he's done 2 years now since that initial fight was supposed to be. So, like, we've seen that happen, a backdated ban. But the problem with Benn, not the problem, I mean, it's admirable. He's never said, right, okay, fine, I admit it, whatever, I'll take the ban, I'll backdate. He's like, no, I never fucking did it. But, like, they lost the appeal, or rather, the board and UCAD won the appeal. As far as I'm aware, Benn is not, he can't fight. I mean, I don't know.
I think he... Whether he has a license to fight with the British Boxing Board of Control or not, I don't know. But you can get a license.
He definitely hasn't.
He can get a license somewhere else. So
in Saudi,
whether they use a different, commission or,
but even if the
British Boxing
fights.
Board of Control sanctioned the fights in Saudi or in charge, should we say, you might be able to fight underneath a different license. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm sure he can. I just think it's an interesting little thing because it's like. Nobody, I know the broadcaster, but it was like nobody's saying this is all well and good, but like, what's the latest? Like Eddie Hunt, what's the latest? When can Benn box? Maybe he can box now. I don't know. This is what I obviously wasn't there, so I can't really ask the questions. I don't really understand what the crack is there. What I do understand is that they're fucking gonna fight.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely both gonna fight, and both of them have been waiting for this fight with each other.
Yeah, 2 years.
So Conor Benn, he could have gone another route. He had a fight, didn't he? He fought Hodson Dobson out in Vegas one year. Is it Dodson? Not Dodson, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, he's had 2 fights out there, hasn't he? One of them, Peter Dobson, was it? He had the other one. Let me get this up because we should get this right. He boxed Rodolfo Orozco. Remember that? That was in the September of last year. Mm-hmm. He won on points. And then he boxed Peter Hobson Dobson, a.k.a. Peter Dobson in Cosmopolitan. That was in February of this year.
Yeah.
But since then, he's obviously UCAD and the board have won that appeal. So you're just like, what? Where do we stand on this? Like, the board obviously sanctioned all those events in Saudi. But then if you put Conor Benn in the middle of one, then what do they do?
I think they're saying,
letting bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
Are they going, right, he's done his time now? I don't really know.
But like, you see how His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh, like, he makes promoters get on. You know,
yes,
people drop everything and fly over to make it happen. Do you think he just has that aura around him where he says to Conor Benn, "You've denied this for 2 years, mate, but you're fighting Eubank. You're fighting him in February.
Yeah, we'll sort it out.
You say, yeah, just hold your hands up, do as you're told now, and we'll make this happen." Like, and then maybe that was what he needed. Someone just to say, look,
you're going
don't
nowhere
worry
without
too much about, you know, your principles as such here. I know that sounds really horrible, but what's more important is you're wasting your career by not fighting.
He's got 2 kids, isn't he? Like, he needs to earn a fucking living. No, but it's true. It's true. Like, he hasn't been able to earn a living. I mean, he's had the 2 fights and whatnot. I totally get what you're saying. It's like, he's not the first person to fail a drugs test and then fight again. I just don't know where we are in the process.
Do you want to? Are you looking forward to this fight?
I've never really been big on this fight. I don't really care for it that much. I still think it's a middleweight against a welterweight. Like, no amount of them shouting at each other stokes the fires. In fact, I find it a bit. It's not like the stuff, you know, when you and James used to go at it. It might be because I was younger and I was, you know, like whatever. But that would be like, whoa, or like. When Chisora and Hay, like as sort of violent as it was, rolled around and all that, it's like, oh yeah, now what? I get none of that from Eubank and Benn. I think Eubank's very stoic and very kind of funny and relaxed about the whole thing, and Conor Benn is just like this teeming ball of fury because obviously he must be frustrated. He's pissed off. He probably hates Eubank like his dad hated Chris Eubank, and then like, but for me, it's just not. Pushing the buttons for me, like, and you can't turn it on or off, can you? It's just like, really want to see that or really don't. It's not like I don't want to see it. It's just like still don't. I'm not sure how welterweight Conor Benn beats Chris Eubank, and I know Eubank's not. You know, he's probably seen better days, but still, I don't know. What do you think?
That's what I was going to say. Is that I think this is more competitive now than ever before. I think that. In the 2 years since this fight was made, when his fight was first made, I thought middleweight against welterweight, it's not even a fair fight. You know, Eubank had more experience, fought at a higher level, bigger. It was really gimmicky to me, and obviously it's trickled along, and it's sort of like we don't know anything else right now. But I think it's more competitive now. If you say who's going to win, I'll say Conor Benn beats Eubank.
Fuck me. Well, all I'll say to that,
I think he's too tight in the weight. I think he's caught up with him. He's still pretty sharp. Who knows what it's like to be out of the ring as much as Ben has been, and what would that be the effect when he comes in? But Eubank had that horrific loss against Liam Smith. Obviously, he's come back and win. He had nearly a year out, over a year out until this one, and he didn't set the world alight at the weekend.
He didn't, but he did drop this guy 4 times and stop him in the end. Like, all I'll say to that is, like, Conor Benn, like, he's a great fighter, exciting fight, explosive, like everything you want in a welterweight. Like, it's like, cool, yeah. But even then, I was thinking, okay, how does he make the step to Jaron Ennis? How does he beat Terence Crawford? And now, like, he was 150.5 pounds against Peter Dobson, right? So, and he was 153.5 against Orozco the fight before. He did basically, like, he had it his own way. He dominated both fights, couldn't put either of them away. You're talking Eubank is 10 pounds heavier on the scales, let alone on the night. Like, he's a big boy. Like, he was operating at super middleweight, as we know. Like, that's where you box him, and he boxed like Arthur Abraham and fucking James DeGale and stuff at super middleweight. He's a big old lump. Conor Benn, like, no matter, he's a welterweight for me. If he's light middleweight, sweet as a nut. Light middleweight, fine. But he's still not a middleweight or a super middleweight. And I just don't know how. I just can't see how it translates. If they were the same weight, I'm with you. I'd be like, Conor Benn looks like he's got the style to knock Eubank out. But Eubank's got an amazing chin as well. Like, that's the one thing we know is he's durable as fuck.
I don't know, mate. I don't. I'm not sure.
Liam Smith put a hole in that theory, but
yeah,
it's never got my, because there's too many weights between them. Harlem Eubank against Conor Benn, that's a fight I want to see. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I'd love to see that. But the Chris Eubank against Conor Benn is just a bit like. If Conor Benn wins, it's one of the, for me, therefore, based on what I've just said, it's one of the biggest fucking upsets in a grudge match I can think of, because that is a big weight disparity. Conor Benn's been out for ages. He hasn't mixed at the same level as Eubank either. It's not like they're both coming up, like, at all. I don't know, what did you think of the scenes? Obviously, they came together on the Friday in the hotel, and then obviously they were put together in the ring. How's it landing with you, the chat?
Well, I think Eubank's doing better, where he's much more calm now. He's a little bit more, it's humorous. He's sort of taking it, he's handling it quite well. And obviously, where Conor, it feels like he's still got something to prove. So, he's quite aggressive. One thing that I would love to see, and I think it'll be a proper maverick move and set Eubank on the back foot, you won't see it coming, is if Benn does an Australian accent. Because I know he lived in Australia for a while now. I think there was a lots of
speaks Spanish as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was flying out. I think he lived in Mallorca or Madrid or somewhere, with his dad at some point.
Yeah, Mallorca it was.
Mallorca, yeah. So he's fluent, there, which is great.
Didn't he have a pop at Neymar as well?
Yeah, Neymar. What's Neymar doing there? Because Neymar and Eubank are best mates. I think they hang out all the time.
I think they both got nice cars, I would assume.
Yeah, they probably share cars. Probably like you drive. Yeah. They drive each other around all the time.
So that's an odd couple, though, isn't it? Neymar and Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah. What's Neymar's English like?
I don't think Neymar speaks English. Yeah. I don't think he speaks English. And then you got Conor Benn just having a pop at both of them.
Because they made I thought he was the promoter of Neymar. At one point, everyone had to move out the way so that he could stand in the middle. And I love that.
Yeah. Neymar overrated as well. But yeah, okay. So you pick Conor Benn to win. I mean, it's a thing that's going to develop. What I mean by I don't really know what's happening
if
is
Conor Benn had to have a footballer in his corner to take on Neymar, who would it be?
Ian Wright. Ian Wright would be great. He's great. He's very what's the word? Inspirational.
Yeah.
He'd be able to get his juices flowing, and he can have it as well. Remember the run-ins used to have with Peter Schmeichel? He would take out Neymar. It's a bit old now, a bit long in the tooth, but Ian Wright and Conor Benn would be a formidable little team.
Yeah. Do you think he knows any Spanish?
See,
right, yeah.
No, he only played for Burnley and West Ham and Celtic latterly, didn't he? I don't think he ever had any dealings in Spain.
Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, okay. Well, that's one we watched develop. Again, we didn't see Eddie Hearn didn't go on and be like, look, okay, look, I know what you're thinking, but there's a ban, blah blah blah. This is what's happening. They just didn't mention it. Yeah. It's like the elephant in the room. But we'll see how that goes. Like Saudi makes shit happen. So if they can get this one sorted. Like we say, Conor Benn's been out of the ring for a long, long time now for those 2 failed drugs tests for clomiphene back in 2022. So we're obviously nearing a resolution.
We ain't got long left, Deck, but let's give
one superstar to another.
Yeah. So that superstar being Liam Cameron. No, sorry, it wasn't. It was sorry, Liam. No, the superstar is obviously Ben Whittaker. He's got millions upon millions of followers online. He is
viral sensation.
Yeah, and a really, really good fighter, Deck. But I've got to hold my hands up here because I was at a gig. I was driving home, and I didn't realise the boxing started so early. So when I got in, I'd missed Whittaker's fight. I hadn't done the old. I booked the fight, but I hadn't, recorded the fight.
I missed it too.
It's okay, so we can't talk about that. But I've watched it.
Well,
I've watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, I've watched it since.
But the YouTube wasn't that great, and I haven't seen it properly since. And the general consensus is that Whittaker starts well, but only a couple of rounds in, Cameron starts landing on him, and Whittaker was looking for a way out. Is that harsh, Deck, or do you think that is fire, no smoke without fire?
Well, I'm the same. I missed it. My missus was boxing, actually. She won as well. She's in the national semis from next week, so I missed that.
What weight?
So, 60 kilos.
She turning over? Turning pro?
Well, it depends if she gets a good manager.
Saudi. Has she got any Saudi links?
Saudi dollar.
She's not.
Well, let's go.
Her great grandfather's not from Riyadh, is it? Because
no, let's go and win win the national title and then think about it. But so anyway, she was boxing in Tenterton, so I was back late-ish, but I missed it. So what I meant is it was all unfolding on the phone when I'm in the car. So I already had an opinion on it, or people were messaging me when I watched it. But like from what I could see, Liam Cameron boxed really well. Obviously, Ben Whittaker didn't have the Ben Whittaker like performance that we're used to. And then the climax of it is fucking mental. Like, the more you watch it, the worse it gets. It looks like Whittaker just does grab him and just pull him and haul him over the ropes. It's inexplicable. And then obviously this commotion, and he's injured his ankle and stuff. Very bizarre. I've got to say, Liam Cameron obviously thought he was on his way to the victory. He didn't get the victory, but what he did get, one, he signed with Queensberry off the back of that, and rightly so. And two, he's now like this platform. He's high profile now. He's got this boost. This is a guy obviously we're talking about drugs bans with Conor Benn. He was banned for like 2 years or more by the board for cocaine use, or at least a metabolite of cocaine, which is, as we know, is very much not a performance enhancing drug. Liam Cameron got the fucking brunt of it, got banned, like left boxing, was a alcoholic. Like, he told me today, I interviewed him, and he was saying, you know, he'd lock himself in his room for days drinking. Like, he was on the brink, and he's turned his life around, and he's come back. It was a year ago this month that he had his comeback fight. You know, I think he was 190 pounds. So he's down at 175 now. He was a middleweight. He was like, I think he was mandatory for the British title or something around the time he got banned as a middleweight. So now he's a light heavyweight, and you can tell he knows what he's doing, and you can tell that he saw Ben Whittaker and he was like, I can unpick this guy, and he was doing it at times. Very bizarre. Ben Whittaker has since had a run-in with a person at an airport.
What?
You see that story?
No.
A fan. He smashed up a fan's phone, which, to be fair, I'm not against, because it's like, he's a fighter who's obviously just had this mad moment and someone's winding him up in an airport. So what the fuck do you expect's going to happen? But we had Ben on the pod, such a nice guy, explained all the antics. Like, you listen to that pod and you're like, right, okay, I get it. The penny's dropped. I understand the theory here.
Yep.
I don't understand the theory to pulling Liam Cameron over the top rope. I really don't understand what happened there, whether it was a rush of blood or whatever. All I know, George, is both of those men need the rematch next.
Yeah.
They've got to have it next.
Well, I think a lot of people will be chasing Whittaker now as well. You know,
Yeah.
One of which is an old sparring partner of mine. I'll give him a quick shout out. It's Anthony Sims. We saw Anthony Sims in the UK.
Oh.
He fell short against Zach Chelly for the British. Well, it wouldn't have been for the British title. Former British champion Zach Chelly. That was down at
That's
middleweight.
Good performance from Zach.
He wants to come up to maybe super middleweight, but he's up at light heavyweight now. And so yeah, I think everyone's chasing Ben. That's just the first person I could think of. But I think Cameron deserves his rematch, and I'd love to see how it goes. Like, I'd love to see if Whittaker can not necessarily need to improve, because the fight
was he having an off night?
Yeah, he might have.
Or has Cameron got his number?
Yeah, he might. I mean, he's fighting away from home. You'd think he's vastly experienced of travelling, but it's his first fight as a pro away from home. He might have picked up a little virus on the plane, or what? Might have been a bit flat, or maybe Cameron was there, or maybe it's all getting blown out of proportion and we never got to see the whole fight because
Ben might have just won.
Ben might have just won.
What I did say to Liam as well is like, okay, Ben Whittaker obviously got to be the target, but you look at that division, even just domestically, light heavyweight, it's the division to be in. Got Dan Aziz boxing Louis Edmondson this week. Winner of that is for the vacant British title. There. Anthony Yard's boxing again then. You've got all these guys who are just around. Ezra Taylor, who's probably a bit early for him, maybe not, but like, what a division to be in for Liam Cameron. And if he can get the Ben Whittaker, I mean, imagine he beats Ben Whittaker in the rematch. Like, from where he came from, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and all these guys are on Boxer, they're on Sky.
It doesn't really matter where they are either. Anyway,
they're going to get made easy. They're happening this weekend, Deck. I'm going. Are you coming?
Oh, of course I'll be there. I'll be there for the boxing news.
Boxing news?
Absolutely.
I'm going to be there for Sky Sports. I'm on the broadcast.
We're both
mate.
there. Oh, Sky Sports.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
They called me.
Okay, well,
who would have thought it? You know, months of no, but now I'm in. I'm back through the door.
Yeah, don't
Won't
talk
last long.
your way out of it. Yeah, you're going to have to do a good job. Yeah, I'll be there. So should we put our heads together when we get there?
We'll have to do a pod from there.
It's Adam Azim against Zahara Davis. It was a great fight. Obviously, Adam Azim is a elite club member. Him and his brother Hassan came on. Zahara Davis hates the media now, which I quite respect. I don't know if you saw that outburst from him, but he said only one person, Louis Hart, we should shout him out from Boxing Social, was the only person who got in touch with Zahara Davis when he got knocked out by Ismael Barroso in a round. Shout out Louis Hart. But the rest of us, he basically told us to fuck off.
See you,
you fucking journalist.
Fucking journalist.
Who hasn't got my number. Anyway, so it's an interesting fight. Adam Azim's good enough, fast enough, powerful enough to take him out in a round. But if he doesn't, Zahara Davis can stink the place out if he needs to, like he did against Jack Catterall. He can also punch like fuck. He could, everything's in play. It's a really interesting fight. The undercard is stacked. Yeah, Anthony Yard's on it. Dan Aziz, Louis Edmondson. Other ones that I've forgotten. But I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. Back in the picture.
I bet you are, because you're getting fucking big money from Sky.
At the Copper Box. Love the Copper Box.
I love the Copper Box, so I can walk there.
Can you?
Yeah, I live in Hackney. Don't come and fucking find me, please, anyone.
I can see the Copper Box out your window right now on the
Yeah,
Zoom.
you see it in the reflection.
Yeah.
But I love it there. Okay, well, we'll have a chat then. We'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. The new breed of George Groves Boxing Club episodes. We'll try and take that magic to the Copper Box.
Exactly, Deck. Have you got a camera? We'll bring an iPhone, shall we? Have you got your Samsung or your Nokia 3210? Did that have a camera on it? Which one is it?
I've got
Sony Walkman.
No,
Sony Walkman had a camera. That'll do.
Sony Ericsson.
Tony Ericsson, yeah.
We'll find something. We could just do paintings or something. But yeah, that'd be great. From one show to another, they're coming thick and fast. What do you think happens, Adam Azim, Zahara Davis, just quickly?
I'm working.
You're not allowed to do a prediction,
yeah,
are you?
exactly. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I think Adam Azim has been an exceptional talent. He is an exceptional talent, but everyone has a rocky route on the way up. There's some sort of stumble or wobble, and you want to see if they get through. If they don't have a stumble or a wobble, then you're usually worried. When's it going to come? So I'm not saying it's going to come against Zahara Davis, but we shall see.
A fight I forgot to mention on that, which Michael McKinson against Tulani and Benn, probably or a proper boxer versus puncher. That could be good fun as well.
Thanks,
that's another
mate.
IBO.
I'll write that down now, because when I get
Please
there, when I get a Sky and they say, "What about McKinson?" I'll say, "Who?"
What about McKinson against Tulani and Benn?
Yeah.
And there's Jamie TKV against Franklin and Natius at heavyweight. These are two guys who boxed in the amateurs.
Yeah.
Which I love a former amateur story.
Have they got a chance to get into Saudi?
I mean, who knows? If whoever wins it, like, so say one of them knocks the other one out in a round explosively, they're in the running for like an Adelaide or like that sort of fight, and then you win that fight, and before you know it, you're fucking
I love it, man.
fighting Fabio Wardley in Riyadh in the desert.
How many fights?
You're only a couple of fights away.
Yeah, what is your route to Fabio Wardley in Saudi? This sort of Deck. He's got to get out of
my missus.
Northwest
My
Div.
missus she's just got to win the nationals, and then she's in the running.
Come
for
on,
Fabio
Mrs.
Wardley.
Deck, let's get it done.
Come on,
Right,
it's coming home. Okay, well, I'll see you Saturday night then, George.
see you Saturday, Deck.
It's been a pleasure.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella.